Join us for 40 days of prayer. It's time to be intentional about our time with God every day.
Join us to find out how we have a relationship with our Jesus Christ.
Pray with us in community and in intercessory prayer.
Learn how to pray in fellowship with other people and how to pray for your own health and well-being as well as your friends and family.
That's why they recommend fasting for chemotherapy. It's been shown in studies that if you fast for the 3 days leading up to your treatment, there are significantly less side effects.
All right, well, this is the final week of September, and we have been covering what we do now compared to what we did 3 years ago when we started this podcast, because all of us have shifted in our business platforms. So today, Miss Bree is going to share with us what has happened with her fasting business.
So, my husband and I run fasting, and we teach people how to fast, and we talk about nutrition, and we talk about prayer a lot and faith a lot. And really, I guess the biggest thing is that people need to understand the importance of fasting for their physical and spiritual health, because we really leave that out, especially in the US where we live. No one talks about fasting. Everyone talks about great sleep hygiene because we spend half of our time awake, half of our time sleeping. But here's the thing, we also spend half of our time eating and half of our time fasting, because when you're asleep, you're fasting. And our bodies need that. So, and they need extra time fasting in order for healing to take place in our bodies. So fasting is really important for the healing that goes on in our bodies and maintaining our health. And it's also a really important part of our spiritual walk, and being closer to God, and learning to be obedient and submit, and focus on Him, and really have a hunger for God instead of a hunger for the world. And so that's what fasting leads to. So really the biggest shift in Kingdom Fasting is that we've been putting most of our energy into our podcast, which we launched earlier this year. I forget exactly when, but we have a lot of episodes up now on every podcast platform, and they're also on YouTube if you want to watch it in video format. So we started out with a series on what is fasting and why should it matter to me. So there is that series that's up. We did a series on fasting basics. So if you want the basics on fasting, you can go watch those podcasts. We also did a series on common fasting struggles. So if you have been fasting, but you're having an issue with something, I encourage you to go watch those or listen to those podcasts. We just started a new series on nutrition, because the question we get most often that's not related to fasting or prayer is, what do you eat when you're not fasting? And so we're really sharing with people how God intended for us to eat and fast. And lastly, we've been sharing just some fun chats, things that come up that we talk about, usually stuff in the Bible, usually our faith. Our podcast is called Fasting, Food, Faith. So that's mostly what we cover on there, but we share everything that we possibly can to help people on their fasting journeys. We also have a lot of stuff available on our website, a lot of free resources. So if you've never fasted before, you want to get back into fasting, we have a fasting jumpstart guide to get you going on that. If you want to try fasting for the first time or get back to doing it, we also have a 5-day challenge to help you get to your first 24-hour fast. We also have fasting calendars if you want to start a fasting regimen and you're not exactly sure how to do that. It's basically a schedule that's done for you. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, we have 2 different levels for that. So that's free on our website. We also have some downloads, a shopping guide for when you're at the grocery store. We have a little shortcut a little, I don't know, downloadable thing about fasting fuels, things that you can have while you're fasting to help you continue fasting. And then we also have a insulin index on there, because we talk about that in our first video in the nutrition basics, and just how important it is to realize what foods that you're eating, how much they raise your insulin, which in turn would raise your glucose levels, which in turn is what causes all of the health issues that so many people have. So, yeah, we talk about that quite a bit. Insulin, glucose, fasting, it's all together. So, a lot of information on that. There's a ton of information in all of the podcast episodes, and they're short. They're not super long. They're like 5 minutes to 20 minutes, somewhere in that range, and so they're really easy to listen to on a drive somewhere. Yeah, we also have personal consultations that we offer on our website if you're interested in that. And then we also do speaking engagements. So that's really what we have going on, yeah, with Kingdom Fasting. So it's a lot of stuff, a lot of information, and we love answering questions. So if you post a comment somewhere or contact us, we will send you information. We might even do an entire podcast episode about your question. So we've done that lots of times too. So yeah, get in contact with us. We'd love to talk to you about fasting.
What's your website?
KingdomFasting.com.
Well, that's easy.
Super
What
easy.
got you into it? What got you into fasting?
In fasting. Oh, that's a good story actually.
Mhm.
What got us into fasting was that my dad had kidney cancer. And my parents and all of us, our entire family, were doing a lot of research on ways to help him because it was slow-growing cancer and also inoperable. So because he'd already had 2 surgeries and they couldn't do any more, it's too close to his spine. He couldn't do radiation. The chemo doesn't work well on slow-growing cancers and stuff. And so anyway, we were looking into things to help him. And my mom found fasting and sent me a video about it, and I watched it and I was like, whoa, this has been missing from our lives. Because my husband and I were both struggling with being overweight and so many health issues. And this was 5 years ago now. We've been fasting for 5 years now. Amazing. And we've done a lot of coaching with people with our business over the years too. So, but anyway, she was looking into that, and so I was having a ton of gut issues at the time, and I was like, I am gonna fast. I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. And so I just cold turkey did a 24-hour fast and got home and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. But I was busy working that day, and so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, which is crazy. Like you think, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna eat any food. You think you're gonna like, pass out and die or whatever, but I didn't. It's fine. And I had such incredible results in my stomach. Like my gut was like 1,000 times better with just one 24-hour fast. And I was just like blown away. I was like, whoa. And so I convinced my husband to do it. Of course, he had to do a lot of research on it first to like be okay with it because, the mainstream things out there about fasting are not great. So, and a lot of misinformation, I should say. But he started doing it and he was shocked. He lost like, I don't know, 80 pounds total, I think, in the first year, but like 60 in like the first 6 months. Like he was just, because he's tried we've both tried so many diets over the last 10 years before we found fasting. And yeah, and he's a very disciplined person and just like committed to doing it. Like he really wanted to improve his health and he wanted to get better. He wanted to lose weight. He wanted all those things, but all the conventional stuff just failed every time. You'd lose a little bit of weight here and there, but it wasn't really permanent or like something that you could continue doing all the time, because diets are really hard to maintain when they're not just your everyday lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like you think it's like running a marathon. Like you think once you get to the end, then you're just going to stay that weight. But when you're lowering your metabolism with the way that calories in, calories out kind of stuff works, it's not sustainable. Anyway, so we lost all the weight like immediately and it was amazing. And then we realized that, oh my goodness, we can fast. So then we started looking into what the Bible says about fasting, and it just was sort of a natural progression of transferring that over to our faith. And then God just started working in miraculous ways and started calling us to different fasts. And we ended up, our entire family fasting and praying for my dad and his cancer when he was doing some natural treatments. And also my sister who had cancer, radiation, chemotherapy, all the things, because she had breast cancer. We were also fasting and praying for her to get pregnant. And so we had this 10-day fast, and then we did another fast later on when my dad was doing some more treatments. And anyway, my sister, we found out before even the end of the fast that she was pregnant. It was amazing. She has 3 healthy boys now, so God worked a miracle there. And then my dad came back from his natural treatments. He had his scan, and he's been cancer-free for 4 years now. So amazing. God worked a miracle, 2 miracles.
Yeah.
And so I just cannot recommend fasting and prayer. Prayer actually is the most important than fasting. I just can't recommend it enough because God created it for our benefit. He created it for our benefit because it brings us closer to Him. And when we're obedient, there's blessing in that. And so He pours out His blessing through fasting because it's so healing for our bodies. So pretty incredible. So I always tell people, and we end our podcast with this every time, go fast and be blessed.
Oh, that's cute.
It is cute. You said the
Yeah.
benefits to fasting, but what are the, prayer, fasting, is what Jesus wants. But I think there's a way that people fast, because like when I would hear fasting, people would say, well, I had breakfast and all my creamer and all my sugar, and then I fasted, and then I had dinner. So it's like, I think there's a right way and a wrong way. And then like the benefits to your body when you do it the correct way, because there's benefits, right? Like health benefits.
Exactly. There is. Anytime you fast, anytime there's a break between eating, it's good for your body. There is a right way and a wrong way to fast biblically, and there's a great chapter in the Bible on fasting, Isaiah 58. There's great examples of the wrong way to fast, not the fast that God chooses, fasting and praying for the wrong things, but there's also a right way to fast and being inside of God's will when you're fasting. And so we do talk about that a lot. There's also a wrong way to fast physically for your body and a right way for sure. Safe way to fast is to make sure that you're staying very well hydrated while you're fasting and taking multivitamin. It's proven through research. But also talking about the right way to fast is that it's easier to fast if you're not eating a bunch of sugar. It's spiking your insulin all the time. And so you're talking about having a bunch of sugar and cream in your coffee. But it's probably going to make you hungry. That's the downside of, all of the sugar in our diet these days, is that it makes it difficult for people to fast because sugar increases your hunger hormones, and the spikes and drops in insulin and blood glucose and things like that does cause that whole hangry feeling and stuff. But the more you fast, the better that gets. And so we always encourage people, if you're going to fast or start fasting the day before, to do some preparation, which is avoid sweeteners and sugars and to not snack between meals, so that you're starting to prepare your body for not getting food, and also helping your brain and your hunger hormones calm down. But yeah, there's a ton of healing benefits to fasting. Fasting resets your gut, your hormones, your brain. There's actual clinical studies done on that. It does improve our mental health, and it improves our physical health. It improves heart health. It improves diabetes and type 2 diabetes specifically. It does incredible things it prevents disease, which is huge. It is cancer preventative also because of the autophagy that happens in your body. There's just, really exponential benefits that just keep building and building the longer you fast and the more often you fast. So yeah, it's so healing for your body that everyone should be fasting.
Explain autophagy.
Okay, so autophagy is when your body goes and finds dead or misshaped, misformed old cells in your body and basically dismantles them, autophagizes them, eats them up and dismantles them, and then uses those resources elsewhere in your body. So that's one of the reasons that it's cancer preventative and anti-aging, and your body uses up the old and creates new, which is huge, which is regenerative and restorative for all of the cells in your body, especially the ones that replace quickly, like your mucosal linings in your gut and things like that, which is why they recommend fasting for chemotherapy. It's been shown in studies that if you fast for the 3 days leading up to your treatment, there are significantly less side effects. And it also improves the efficacy of the chemotherapy against the cancer because, again, autophagy. So it does amazing things for just about every health struggle out there.
Mm-hmm. So who should?
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah.
Sorry, Sherry.
That's okay.
So people who shouldn't fast, it's kind of hard because basically anyone can do up to a 24-hour fast, but there are some caveats to that. So pregnant women, not more than 24 hours, and really just should avoid fasting for the most part. If you're nursing, it can decrease your milk supply. So generally recommend not more than 24 hours. Children, recommend not more than 24 hours also, because there really isn't research past that because, again, children. So the other thing is that we recommend not fasting if your body fat percentage or your BMI, is below 19, because then you have a very low amount of fat on your body in order for your body to use as fuel for fasting. And that can cause other damage if your BMI or body fat percentage is that low. So we don't recommend fasting if your BMI is that low. So just some things to be aware of. But most of us have plenty of fat somewhere on our body that could sustain a fast. Because even elite athletes don't usually run their BMI that low. So unless they're super marathon runners or something. So yeah. But as always, consult your, physician, everything. This is not medical advice, all of those disclaimers. But we do recommend fasting for everyone. As long as you don't fall into one of those other categories, you can probably fast.
Sherry, you were asking a question.
Yeah, well, it was more of a statement to back up what Bree was saying, and it's just that because the fasting helps with the glucose, insulin spiking and whatnot, it does help all of the things. Because with cancer thrives on sugar,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to help with that. It's just a natural progression there.
Oh yeah,
I'm hoping so. But in any disease, like you said, type 2 diabetes, every disease, I mean, is sugar impacts. So,
yeah.
We had my mom
Exactly.
intermittent fasting when we first moved her in with us and reversed. I mean, obviously the fasting wasn't the only aspect of reversing her diabetes, but that was a huge part of it because she would wake up and her glucose would be super low in the mornings compared to, when she was sneaking ice cream into her bedroom dresser drawers and eating it in the middle of the night. So
yeah, it's transformed our lives and honestly our families' lives too, both of our families.
yeah.
Because everyone fasts now. I mean, it's been so healing and so incredible, not only for our physical bodies, but just in our spiritual walk and being closer to God and that kind of thing, that it's hard not to share. We want everyone to have what we have. And so that's why Kingdom Fasting.
Love it.
I love the progression because over the last 3 years, you actually changed names also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you were listening to God, because God said, okay, we're going to go this way now, right?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
tell a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we used to be called flexible fasting, and we used to focus mostly on just the health benefits and the weight loss because that's where we started at. Um, but yeah, the more that we fasted, the more God called us to spiritual fasts for different things. And over time, it just became more about prayer and fasting. It just became more about Him. And that's the direction that He wanted us to go with this because the world right now, the country right now, we need prayer and fasting. We need to intercede for people. And we need more of His presence on the earth. And so that just became more important, even though the health benefits are still incredible. We still teach people how physically to fast. And that's the other thing is that we want His children healthy and in a place where they can do what He's called them to do. Just like where we're at. And so that really is our goal, is to help people get to that place of being healthy and being strong and being with God and on the path that He has for them and doing what He's called them to do, because we need everyone doing what God's called them to do. We need them. We need everyone in the body of Christ. And so yeah, we want to change the world. We bring more of God's presence to earth. More of His Spirit. More of Him, more of what He wants. His will on earth.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Because I am.
There's so much comfort.
I love that so much.
I know,
If
right?
you're listening, Leanne's shirt says rapture ready.
Oh, thank you.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
You'll need one of those shirts.
Yes, we are.
I bought my church sells them.
That's
I
awesome.
saw it hanging in the bookstore and was like, I'm buying that right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think that that's really the message that we all have is to help people get healthy and strong for God, for His, what they're called here to do. Because I know that 3 years ago, around the time we all met, that was the message I got from God was, I need my warriors to be healthy and strong. And so that's something I ask every day is how do you want me to do that today?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really the message of all of us. I think we're all been called to do that, to help His warriors, because we are all warriors. And if we can't think straight, if we're not feeling well, we're not all there and all in, because we're more focused on what are the issues that we have going on health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that you said that because it's just, that was the wording. That's the words that I got too.
Yeah. That's exactly why the four of us are here together.
Yes.
Talking to you right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So join us on this journey.
Yes. Well, we will put links to Bree's original story and to her website in our show notes, and of course how to contact her. And if you want to learn more about fasting outside of these podcasts, then we encourage you to go check her out, because you just get a tiny little glimpse of her information when you listen to our podcast. So go check out kingdomfasting.com. And excuse me, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everyone you know and love. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.